So here's the leg in its new position. I just have everything put in pretty loosely because I'm going to need some longer bolts. You can see I've got one of the 1/4-inch ones in here and it's just barely holding this fella right on. So I'm going to need some probably 7-inch bolts at least by 3/8 inches, which means that these that I bought aren't really going to be long enough. You can see it only goes about halfway through the wood. There's going to be a spacer in here, so I'll just get this piece of wood here to demonstrate. I'm going to drill another hole in the bottom of it and it'll slip in kind of like, just gotta move my drill out of the way. That. Except, you know, straight up. So it'll have a good, like 6 inches because, you know, 2x4. These are actually slightly smaller than 2, it's like 1.5 inches, so this makes 1, 3, 4.5 inches, so 4.5 inches. Anyway, so it's some longer ones, but you can see that it gets the struts nicely angled, and I'll have to do a similar thing on this side because it just barely doesn't make it. I don't know, maybe I could take my chainsaw and carve out a piece right here, but that might compromise the structural integrity. So I've got another bolt kind of just holding it in the meantime, another one of those little, again, 1/4 inches, and get a nice strut, put that in there like that, and it will make some, hopefully a lot sturdier, slightly wider wheelbase, will mean that it doesn't wobble around so much. Alright, so we're going to be cutting some spacers for those 3/8 inch bolts out of this bit of wood. But first we're going to drill the holes for the bolts to go through. So we'll just put in the 3/8 inch bit. And just drill them on in. There we go. And will the bolt fit? Yes, it does, with a little bit of persuasion. So now, I'm just going to take that out, then we're going to cut this into 3 parts. And to get this last piece, I'm just gonna plop a clamp on there. That way I don't end up risk cutting my fingers off, because I need those. There we are. 3 spacers. Now we can go put them on the mech and see how it looks. Oh, look at all this white stuff. Oh no. And that means I gotta get up the snowblower. Anywho. Now, we'll just get around to mounting the bolts on right where they should be. Now, unfortunately, you can kind of see that the thread doesn't go all the way through onto the lock nut nylon bit. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to get even longer bolts than these 5.5 inches. So that's another shopping trip I gotta do, but I'll see if I can do the rest of this even so. If you hold on a sec, because my battery on my camera is about to run out. There we go. You can see that the nuts are just barely holding on by the skin of their threads, and that's without the washers I want to put on. One sec. You can see that the nuts are kind of digging into the wood, and that's why I got these washers to act as sort of protection for the wood. But given how short these bolts are, it isn't really, well, working out. So I'm going to need to get some longer bolts, but this setup should hold okay in the meantime. I mean, probably don't want to be doing any sort of combat with the mech, but you know, if I can roll around a bit and just prove it, it would be nice. And now I got to repeat the process for this side. So, and my battery is about to run out, so I'll see you in a sec. Here's my phone camera. Alrighty, so now I've got the left leg all attached, kind of, more or less. These connections probably will do for now, at least until I can get those longer bolts. Given the length of these, I might just have to forego bolts, and just go for some threaded stock and cutting that up. And what threaded stock is, it's pretty much like the thread without the little hat on the end. So it would be like this bit of bar right here that I use for my jack. And while I was out, I also had to adjust this knuckle mount right here, because it was actually on the outside leg post instead of the inside leg post, so that would have made it more difficult. And I put a brace on this left part of the motor carriage, because this stud right here is starting to get a little cockeyed, probably because this ground is slightly uneven, so it's slightly listing to the left. But the next stage of this is to realign the sway bar onto the steering knuckles, and that should give me proper steering. Then, you know, like, reattach these brake rods, and I replace the bolt on the clutch pedal swing thing. We can take a look at that in just a sec. Just got to get my ladder. There we go. It's got a big fat bolt, so it shouldn't rotate or bend out of shape as much. So the next thing to do after the tweak with the sway bar is to remove the sawhorse and see if it'll stand on its own. I mean, it should, so it shouldn't be that big a deal. Then after that, some slight tweaks to the transmission lines to make sure that they're all nice and tight. Lube up the arms, and then another test, I guess. So that's it for this video. It's a kind of long and rambling one. Bit of a departure from my usual fare. It took me a couple of days to record this one, so if you like this format, please let me know. And also be sure to like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.